Namaste, Galactic Family. Welcome back to my channel, Indigo Angel. Welcome if you are new. Welcome if you are returning. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can continue to receive my message. Like, comment, share this video. Really share this video out today, guys. There's so much information that I have to share with you in this update. And it's really going to be extensively kind of going off of the topic and subject matter that I spoke about on my last energy update or Disney grid decode that I did with Patriot Dave. And we're going to dive a little bit more into the depth of this extensive dark magical kingdom web. So I hope that you cleared yourself on the way in the portal today, because we're going to be doing a deep dive and we're going to be exposing things that are not so pretty. But to do this today, we are going to have to use some code words for today's show. And the code words are going to be Magical Kingdom for the D word, Nursery Rhyme Crimes, and Pedodontia Gate and prepubescent subjects. So I'm going to be very careful because of the AI parasites, the AI bots, the YouTube agent Smiths, okay? They are, it's best to just kind of operate like that. You can kind of think of my videos as a giant crossword puzzle, and you're just coming in for a decode within a decode within a decode. Also, the way I talk is strategic, and it is of a higher intellectual plane that also helps bob and weave some of the AI parasites, and also it is very activating for higher consciousness when you use a higher vocabulary to transmit the messages. So that I've been consistently downloaded from the Lyran system, that I need to deliver my messages that way. And I have done that ever since I received that message. So yes, guys, in case you didn't already know, the corporate greedy bastards of the magical kingdom that seem to be full force invested in the grooming of our nurseries, full force invested in the extensive list of pediatric grave offense against human morality and universal laws, fully invested in that same old love. That makes me think of that Selena Gomez song. The same old evil parasitic, old dark ones genetics that were basically responsible for the intergalactic Atlantis slave trades, okay? The Atlantic slave trade, where we had 12 million African Americans that were brought over on the trade routes and basically shackled and chained and forced and raped and lynched and all that good stuff, and brought to the America, where we built all of our wealth off of their backs. I don't know if you guys recall or remember that, but yeah, so I went to a place called the Legacy Museum here in Montgomery, Alabama, where I got this new shirt. It is called Do Justice, Love Mercy. I absolutely love this t-shirt. I had to show it to you guys. I didn't realize when I would wear it that my screen actually cuts off my shirt so you can't see what I'm wearing, but I wanted to be able to wear it for this show today because I feel like it absolutely matches the frequency of everything we're going to be discussing, talking about, decoding. And it was just a really amazing cultural experience there. It's actually built, I put this on my community tab, and I kind of took some pictures and explained my experience briefly of being there. But the museum was built in a slavery warehouse that's 1 mile away from where the Martin Luther King bus civil rights movement took place. Here in Montgomery, Alabama, is where all of that movement actually generated and, surged across our nation, essentially. So it was just a really cool place to go and be culturally and in-depthly immersed into what that actually looked like from the 12th to 15th to the 1800s, kind of that whole timeline in history, describing and explaining, how horrific everything actually was. And so I had to go and experience that. Me, I dive to the depth of everything. And I really do feel like I'll have some grid updates coming from that, because it is important that I think I continue to address the descending grids, the slavery grids, and just like in Australia, how they have this penile past, right, that affects their consciousness and their subconscious and all of these things. It's the same here in the United States when it comes to the slavery and templating that runs in the grids here, particularly along the 33rd parallel. So I just realized, guys, that I live on the 33rd parallel. By looking that up the other day, I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, I'm residing right on the 33rd parallel, and I can see now why I'm here and how it pertains to my mission. And I think everything that is transformational will transpire from this great ley line, whether that's, for the betterment or for the worse of humanity. It does seem that both energy fluctuations of life and anti-life are flowing very extensively through this ley line. So I just want to say, though, that having had that experience, I realize it's the same minded bodies that are responsible for the intergalactic Atlantis, I'm calling it slave trades. Okay. They're the same bodies that are responsible for the global pediatric crisis, because technically they are using all of the same trade routes. If you look at all of the trade routes from the Atlantic slave trade route, it is the same routes that they're using for trafficking, smuggling, human trafficking, all of these things. Prepubescent subjects trafficking and smuggling. So all slavery behaviors, they're still following the same currents through the Caribbean islands and all of that, So it's really interesting, and that's just more that I think I'll continue to discuss and talk about moving forward. And it is these same corporate elite disassociated poison bodies, right? They're poisoned souls. There's poisoned spirits that are the ones that are responsible for all of this horrific atrocity here on the globe. But what's most disturbing about all of this is they are the ones that are equally and fully invested in the elementary and education system. So it is not just because of this bill that is being opposed down in Florida by DeSantis. It is because they themselves, the Magical Kingdom Corporation themselves actually owns elementary schools in the United States. So when I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh, my stomach kind of turned, because here we have these childhood groomers, whether that's for stardom, financial reasons, or for gender distortion and gender principle, universal law sabotage, creation fracking, creation code cracking, all of that. But they are the ones that own the elementary schools. So they own 13 elementary schools. What I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull it up on my map, and I'm going to show you all of these locations. And so it's kind of important. That's why I'm calling this a nursery crime harvesting grid update today, is because we're going to kind of call a lot of this out. I feel the magical kingdom agenda is just the start of a new awakening. I think it's going to open up more injustices of the corporation of our education systems, and just to see how, the extensive depth of how deep this rabbit hole really goes. And so this has totally sent me on a mission to locate these Magical Kingdom nursery harvesting facilities and place them on my new chart that I started working on, called the Nursery Rhyme Crime Harvesting Grid. So it is definitely a work in progress, just as all of my other grids are that I have charted and presented to you guys. This one is particularly dark and ugly, right? So you really do have to be a warrior to have this discussion today. You are going to have a strong astral shield, a strong astral field, and you're going to have to know who you are, right? You're going to have to know your own gnosis to be able to look at this information today. And the sole reason for me to put this together is to help parents to see the bigger global picture, to help the little ones and the victims of the elite and the victims of the Willy Wonka, the victims of the corporations, and the prepubescent victims of the harvesting facilities. And so also to assist the dedicated grid workers, okay? So those of us who are grid hunters, those of us who are grid detectives, okay? This is for us to work remotely on clearing these ley lines, the Masonic templating, the Pita portals, the all of this that's feeding the belly of the fallen dragon and the AI vortexual systems, essentially. So I'm basically working on this for all of you who are a system buster, all of you who have electronic happenings around you all the time, lights flicker off and on. And, you know, it's interesting. I didn't put this together, two and two together, but the night that I had that astral attack from getting back from the Georgia Guidestones, I also had an electrical fire in my outlet next to my bed. So I thought that was also very, very, very strange. Okay. So if you are causing things to flicker and electronics to malfunction, and if you're making the grid system wobble and dysfunction, then you're probably somebody who's standing to make a difference with their psychic abilities and their spiritual mastery. So what makes crystal clear sense to me why they are so indebted to passing of this bill is it's because they want to teach this in their own schools. And it didn't dawn on me that, because you think about this, like, why is posing this so much? And then you start to look deeper into it, and it's like, oh, because they actually own schools. They actually own elementary schools. This is why they are fighting so hard to teach gender confusion to our young, fertile minds with subtle, susceptible, slowly acceptable subconscious programming. They also know the power is in the numbers as well, and the tipping of the scales is by political parties. So it's also really, really super important for Americans specifically to remember right now that you are not defined by your or a or any political party. Okay, you can align left and you can align a little bit right. And if you are feeling that it's somehow true that you can actually and should be in the middle, okay, this is how you know that you're actually a balanced being, because the truth is always somewhere in the middle, and you will give and take naturally to be equally on both sides in terms of integrity and moral principles, because we need moderation and balance of both sides, both principles, to be in a cohesive national state. So the extremism in any direction is out of harmony with growth and balance of universal proportionate direction. And it's really, really important to remember this, that people don't feel so locked into a belief or a lie that is going against the best interests of their offspring due to their guilted, okay, it is a guilted submission to their political parties' alliances. Well, you have to remember, and what we should all know, is that these alliances are completely meant to be broken, especially when they breach the threshold of violating the innocent. So your gnosis is so much more valuable than you could ever imagine. Your own gnosis is the gold within you, the gold that the Anunnaki tried to make you believe you were indebted to. Okay, that is a program in your Atlantean field. Okay, that is a program in your JCL templating. that you are indebted to mine wealth for others. Okay? You are no longer a slave. So we have to stop believing the lies. And the gold, it's actually alive within you. And that is the alchemical body to your spirit body. And this is the true currency exchange on this earth. So to the 500 million left on this earth, meant to rebuild the new light cities, meant to be the guardians of the earth, meant to step up in parental global roles, and meant to hold the organic matrices while the rest of the world submits to the fallen realms, the ones that have not poisoned their souls yet. Okay? All of this that we're talking about today is to empower you. Okay? So I am absolutely appalled. I am appalled with the magical kingdom. I am appalled. I actually have been starting to see that they have placed implants and seals in the second and 10th dimensional field planetarily and in the human etheric and astral body's biology. It would take a very detailed breakdown to decode and define that, but just trust me, I am seeing them globally and through the second gate down in the gate systems in Sarasota, Florida, down by maybe the 28th parallel. So why wouldn't the magical kingdom actually own elementary schools? They only own half of the media giants across the board. The dark Walter Webb is a masterful cancer, guys. You can see everything publicly disclosed to what they own on Wikipedia. So I'm just going to show you this list really quick. So what I'm sharing with you here is a list of assets owned by the WD Corporation. And essentially, it's a very, very extensive list, okay? Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Studios, Pixar, Marvel, they FX, ABC, ESPN, all ESPNs, which was really surprising. All of the Lifetime Entertainment Services, History Network, all of the looks like keep scrolling here, and this is all that they're publicly allowing us to see. This is not, this isn't the things that are kept from our knowledge, which there's definitely more here. So I mean, it's all of this is very extensive. So take some time to look over the list of assets owned by the WD Corporation and the Magical Kingdom Corporation, because you can see why I keep calling this a dark Walter Webb of a masterful cancer. So I'm going to go over to my map here with you guys. And I'm going to get into all of these Magical Kingdom elementary schools. So there are 13 elementary schools. Okay, so I have these all charted here on the map in this like teal color here. These are the elementary schools across the United States. I found 13 of them, but there may be more. And these are all funded and owned Magical Kingdom harvesting facilities, elementary schools. And for one, what I found what was really interesting about this is there is actually no Wikipedia list for these. There is no collective list or data search pulling the records of these elementary schools. So I extensively looked for lists of Magical Kingdom owned elementary schools and nothing would come up. What I'm saying is I had to actually look and verify each one state by state. So I may have missed some because this was all I could verify, but there definitely may be more of these nationally or even globally. I wouldn't doubt if there would not be handfuls of these that were actually in China as well. given they have outnumbered the US in Magical Kingdom parks that they have, that these schools are hidden and discreetly up on the internet searches. So it would be very difficult for me. I could spend the time to, internet search maybe on the DuckDuckGo server to see if I could find China ran, owned, and operated Magical Kingdom elementary schools. But right now what I could find was 13 of them located in the United States. Okay, so all of these teal colored markers are Magical Kingdom owned, operated, funded schools. This is Alvin, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Springfield, Missouri, Mishawaka, Indiana. 4 locations in Chicago, Illinois called the WD Magnet Schools. 3 locations in California, Anaheim, Burbank, San Ramon, Omaha, Nebraska, and Lebanon, Pennsylvania. So my message is if you know anyone that has children enrolled in these Magical Kingdom harvesting facilities, okay, you know what's happening here. They are pushing the agenda of distorting and hijacking their light body and dividing their gender principle, okay? And they're going to be pushing for campaigns of subconscious programming K through 3rd grade. So you may ask these parents to really rethink their education choices in these schools. I would boycott these harvesting facilities immediately. And if this doesn't really make the hair stand up on the back of your neck and invoke your deepest primal instinct to protect offspring, then I really just don't know what would at this point. It's so if you see my last update on Patriot Dave, basically I decoded 6 of the largest Magical Kingdom ran parks and locations across the globe. And so the 6 largest ones are in Anaheim, in Orlando, in Paris, in Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Tokyo. So those would be the 6 major ones. And so I kind of strung some ley lines from point to point. And what I kind of found was I really feel that the center point of focus, or the center location, even though it's not the largest location, would be this location in Paris. And when you zoom into Paris, so this isn't like any of the other locations. All of them did have some sort of central templating of structure in terms of how they built the theme parks. But this one here in Paris actually had a very large singularity vortex surrounding the park itself. So I actually charted it. I'll take the overlay off. Now you can see this circular ring around. And this is kind of why I came to see this would be the centralized location in terms of energy distribution and how they're hijacking and siphoning energy. And so I feel that the ley lines then distribute themselves from this global point out, and that energy would be flowing from the center point to these other locations, even though some of these parks are bigger than this particular location. The Paris location is actually 3rd in size. The largest location is Orlando. The 2nd largest is Shanghai. Okay, and that's where we have the drama, right, playing out. We have the drama playing out here. And then we have, in Shanghai, we have the worst Omicron breakout and lockdown taking place on the globe right now. So it's interesting how it's following these particular ley lines, these angular ley lines. And what's interesting too about it is Shanghai is the one closest to the 33-degree parallel, and Orlando is also very close, but I think it's very interesting how these parks actually dip down below the 33. Some of them fall right on the 33rd, and then some are right above. But it is definitely seems that the Paris location would be the centralized point in terms of energy. So I just think it's absolutely crazy that we have this many owned and operated harvesting facilities, okay, prepubescent subject harvesting facilities in the United States. I think that these should be boycotted similarly to how people are boycotting the channel as well. So, all of this, I think it's important that we take in account for the fact that if our ability to stand and protect the primal innocence and the dangerous threats to the minds of children and your offspring has been diminished, then you have essentially handed your power over to the Willy Wonka's authority when it comes to this. I remember when I was in an abusive marriage, and I was being emotionally, mentally, and physically abused. And my youngest daughter from that relationship started to become emotionally, mentally, and also physically abused. I remember I came to a point in that relationship because I was a young woman. I was very naive at the time. I believed that the right thing to do was trying so hard to keep my family together. No matter what we endured, no matter what we went through, that the right thing to do was keep my family together. Okay. I was so wrong. But I remember I remembered the day that I realized it. I remember that day because I saw the physical abuse happen to my youngest child. And I thought to myself, what kind of mother would I be to stay in this situation if I'm not protecting my children? Like, it doesn't matter who it's from. It doesn't matter if it's from your family. It doesn't matter if it's from your friends. It doesn't matter if it's who or where or what it's from. Abuse is abuse. Okay. And I remember I asked myself that question that day. And that was the day I knew that I was done. That was the day that I knew that I was walking away from that relationship and that marriage, is because I asked myself those questions, like, what kind of mother would I be if I did not protect my children right now from abuse? And that abuse can range in all different forms. I know that this is a different kind of abuse, but it's all relative, right? Okay, so these types of things that are happening, this should really invoke one's primal intuition, their primal drive, their primal instinct to protect children. That's what this should be invoking. Okay. If it's not invoking that, this may mean that your soul is poisoned or non-existent, empty, or genetically bonded and damaged to reversals and splitters. I'm not talking about those listening to my channel now. Okay. I know you guys are frontline battlefield actual justice warriors. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's what my soul family is. That's what I call in. So I know who's here with me now. Okay. I'm talking about the empty seaters. I'm talking about the NPCs. I'm talking about the soulless beings, the geoengineered, the modified, and the poisoned. Okay. So let me tell you about that poison. So I have just recently upgraded my spiritual abilities quite a bit. I have now acquired the ability to actually remote into someone else's body. And I had this happen on some recent J-seal removals that I had done. I seen the created funnel of frequency from within me through the tones and rhythms, and I felt and seen myself locate in fully and remove the seals out of their body for them. I seen myself travel down the vertical ascension column one by one, removing seals. This experience allowed me to see so much more pertaining to the crucifixion wounds because my psychic abilities amped up. They increased in that moment. I've always been doing that, but this time this experience was stronger than normal for me. So this time I could see more, and I could see myself access fully inside their vertical ascension column and funnel my way down inside their field. So I seen that the crucifixion wounds were an extensive stigmata wound, that the nails driven in the hands and feet, okay, because they don't just have the crown of thorns, they also have the nails in the hands and the feet. I seen that these were placed there on the 33rd parallel at Mount Olives, where Jesus was crucified, on the 33rd parallel, okay, placing that into the grids. They placed this intentionally to block your healing abilities in your hands and feet and plug the portals of light inside the body from flowing into the third dimensional realm. They do this to plug up the Christed activated plasma that flows from within, because your hands and feet are where you can touch and heal others. It's where you can share and direct your light body and send messages through the etheric fields into the eternal and immortal fields. The crucifixion implants are plugs that block these gateways. So this is what has been taken from everyone, okay? But this is what we have the power to get back. But why this pertains to the poisoned souls and the damaged souls is during the J-seal removal, we seen this in a session together, me and the gal that I was working on. So I'm not going to say who she is, but she did give me permission to talk about this, that we shared together in our session. We seen that those that are carrying the crucifixion and persecution plugs, okay, what's happening is there is this leaking of spikes out of the hands and feet around the implants and seals, and liquid light spike protein is coming through, okay, around the crucifixion and stigmata wounds, that from those that have the Jim Jones Elixir Booster Special number 9 Moronocron, okay, the ones that had the physical reaction to this, that took it, and then later were like, oh, I wonder why I'm having symptoms, okay, the ones that didn't get the placebo, okay, they're the ones that got the spike a protein, okay, they're well under their way into the geoengineering processes of modification, processes of Draco Cthulhu hybrid DNA, part squid, part Draco, and hive controlled simulation of their reality. Okay, their souls have been poisoned. Okay, and their light body energy itself is oozing poison from around the crucifixion nails in their hands and feet, and they're plugged. Okay, so it's also plugging that poison in the body. They're sealing in the life force energy with all of that poison. Now it's oozing out of the hands. There's actual parasitic proteins in the light body field itself that's coming out of the light body. Okay. Thousands of spike spirit protein has modified itself into the soul templating light structures and has completely taken over full control of what was once pure of the soul. This is visible now in the light body, the soul harvesting, soul hijacking, soul snatching that they are doing. And this modification will continue to affect the next generations in nurseries, because we talk about these distortions invading the spiritual light body and snatching the soul, making their light body fields poisonous. But this will have a deep impact not on the next generation, but the generation after that, because everything skips one generation to fully manifest itself. So these genetic DNA modifications may cause irreversible birth defects on the following generation. A generation beginning to be born with missing parts of the lungs, heart, brain, needed chromosomes for automatic functioning, and will cause links in the species to fail and reverse evolve, coming in and being birthed through soulless modified beings or beings poisoned, or birthing through toxic spirit body reversal portals. Okay, so the same goes for infants being birthed through artificial wombs, such as transhumanism hosts for birthing gender distorted males and artificial or donated wombs. There are babies that are being born with blacked out eyes and pupils, again, unable to pull in a soul because the portal it came through was artificial or it was poisoned. since it can't pull in a pure soul into that womb due to the conditions, it may have trauma fragmented souls attaching to it as it comes in. Sometimes 3 to 4 to 5 traumatized souls pulling them in on the way in, pulling these souls from traumatized astral rips and tears in the space-time continuum that have not completed official and proper Bardo processes in from the astral, from nuclear or war degraded sites, pulling souls from the 33rd parallel. All carrying incomplete creation principles, masculine, feminine, soul templating principles, and again will continue to distort and destroy any and all universal principle, gender law of existence here to the organic human. So, I know that my messages today are pertaining to a very serious nature, but the time is now to wake up to the depth of these destruction codes running on the earth. Okay, so I do deliver this message to you guys today. To inform you that the ones we have educating our children, okay, are the same ones running the nursery rhyme crime rings. And this is a unconscious mass ritual of sacrificing our youth to the hive mind, to an AI modeled projection of what a grafted reality should be, no individuality, and all will cease to be allowed. We all must conform to the synthesis and grafted simulated reality. That social credit scoring that they have going on in China, you think that's bad? Well, that's at the head of the fallen dragon grid, but essentially, these are the operations of AI, and this is at the head of the prepubescent harvesting. This is what all is leading into the future trajectory of these timelines that are running in the fallen timelines, the artificial timelines. This isn't real. Okay, this isn't real. This isn't organic. This isn't natural law. Okay, natural law is the only law. Everything that's happening, this isn't real. This is a simulation. This is a grafted reality. Just think about what you lost when you gave up your freedom to a financial credit score. Okay, that was another great global descent in human morality, similarly to the Atlantis slave trades. Okay, do you even know what you lost at that time? Well, you can think about what you're going to lose when we have that social credit scoring. It's the same thing, but you're just going to forget in amnesia. You're going to wake up and have a social credit score. One day, you're going to wake up and have a social credit score. That's what's happening. So I am really beginning to think that Mr. WD was just a front man, like a smokescreen that completely faked the public, similar to how they claimed we landed on the moon. Mr. WD was an actor paid to present to the world the most extensive branched second-dimensional implant virus bacterian cancer the world has ever known, a money trail that legitimately owns half of the media and is incepted through so many portals. Getting rid of it would be like having to remove a million pieces of shard glass out of your foot. This is a templating that runs inside the fallen dragon control system, running reversals or anti-life codes into the grid. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my fallen dragon grid because I did show this in the last update, but again, it's just important that you guys see it one more time for this video. So my map, I'll take you to it's my AI grid is what it's called. And now you can see how all of the magical kingdom locations are existing inside of the dragon templating. Okay. The fallen dragon grid consists of the financial networks, so all cryptocurrency mining, global and national digital banking, the Federal Reserve, Baphomet deception networks, Templar systems, Wall Street gambling, predatorial ideologies of money, Egyptian money curses, etc. They also pertain to the Vatican and obelisk networks, the over-sexualizing of the grids, patriarchal demon seeds, ritual nursery sacrifices, and the female kill-off sacrifices that have mainly took root in the head of the dragon under the China nations, where the women were forced to sacrifice, even though that's no longer going on, but they were forced to sacrifice for a long period of detrimental time their female children, and supersede the male population in China. For a long time, that actually backed up all of the incarnational Orion stargates in China locations, particularly Zion, China. It also has to do, the fallen dragon grid consists of the silver blood networks, the artificial intelligent networks, the artificial singularity vortexes that are powered by AI through silicon-based technology. It also has to do with the legal, political, and governmental networks, the military networks, the corruption of the laws of gender, and universal laws and principles. So what they are trying to do under this grid templating with the prepubescent subjects, they are exceptionally, the thing is they know through this hierarchical down tier, from the fallen grid network to the AI vortexual structures, down to the gender distortion laws, gender principle, universal principle law distortions, is that they know that the prepubescent subjects are exceptionally receptive to the energies in their environment as babies, toddlers, until about the 6 years of age, and as a result are highly susceptible to subconscious programming through their informative years from age 6 and up, which does seem to be the year they want to target their minds for gender programming and damaging the light, body, soul, and male and female gender principles. In the early development phases of childhood, the children have a mirror neuron development in the brain and mirror properties through the prepubescent subjects. So what they do is they mimic and they imitate the repetitive behavior of their parents, teachers, peers, and the environment. A mirror neuron is a nerve cell that fires when the person observes an action being performed by another person. This means that a child watching the behavior of their parent, teacher, or caretaker is actually laying down the tracks for the same neuronal pattern of action for their life via the information that is being carried in the neural impulses. So that means that during the child's biospiritual development phase, a strong foundation is laid for the beliefs or the belies and the behaviors grafted that form in the individual of the future when he or she reaches adulthood. Okay, this is subconscious programming that starts in earliest childhood when our brains are not fully developed, but are instead highly suggestible to the social engineering and geoengineering tactics of the death culture, okay, of the anti-reversal culture, okay, the culture that is anti-life, of the fallen dragon grid simulation that is not real, that is not of natural law, that further emphasizes the negative conditions that cause toxic stress and unhappy people to opportunize transhumanist and transgender agendas. The magical kingdom corporate greedy bastards are fully aware of the power of subconscious programming on the young and undeveloped brains and target your offspring as early as possible to gain control over that individual throughout their lifetime. Thus, they also condition the adults and groom the adults to be the groomers that have power in society and media, their staff and other media networks, to include the grooming of prepubescent beings as a primary archontic deception strategy. Nurseries are highly susceptible to subliminal programming contained in magical kingdoms, movies, cartoons, books, and nursery-oriented media provided by the groomers or in the educational material. Nursery grooming through the use of subconscious programming is used with the intent to lower the prepubescent beings' inhibitions in regard to sexual behavior, sexual identity, sexual confusion, sexual gender, soul principles, and these tactics are commonly used by these predators to normalize sexual abuse and lure into trafficking and harvesting. Okay, so the destruction CEOs behind the smokescreen man, Mr. WD, know these psychological sciences all so well. That is why they literally have, why they literally have 13 elementary schools in the United States. Okay. The big shocker that people need to remember is that intentions change. Okay. Intentions change, and what they were originally founded on might not be the case today. And maybe it never was the case, but the intentions change, and people, friends, family, business partners, corporations, networks, groups, lovers, all the time. That's why people get divorced. That's why people separate. That's why people have, things that come up that change the dynamic of your relationship with them. It's your perception of this that is detrimental to your ability to stand and protect yourself, your children. Your perceptual awareness of intentions changing in those that you feel you can trust. People felt like they could trust the magical kingdom. We need to be able to sense when someone or something is doing wrong. Okay, when their intention has shifted. Things that will cause intentions to shift are usually rooted in the 7 deadly sins. Okay, greed, lust, gluttony, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. If you sense the vibration of any of these in others, there is a good chance that their intention has shifted. Corporation is a root word for corruption. Everything corporate is corrupted and is holding the frequencies and the vibrations of the 7 deadly sins. What we once thought someone or something once was, they now have the capability to turn to the dark side at any time. So leaving one to think that the original intention is still that situationship when it's not the same as the original intent, which is a part of the archontic deception tactic. So once that intention has shifted, it leaves those invested needing to dismantle the emotional cords to reduce damage control. This is what has happened with the dissolution over those with attached hearts to the magical kingdom. Okay, they need to pull back and dismantle their emotional cords to reduce damage control. Now, some of these magical kingdoms owned and operated elementary schools are actually very, very disturbing. One of the ones in Chicago is the Walt Disney Magnet School. And essentially, they're actually running black cube technology here at this school. The buildings themselves are very disturbing. The architecture is black cube technology. They're cube shaped. Okay, they have very, very black and dark windows. It has like a communist structure to it. Okay, so this is just a picture of the school here. But essentially, so that's why I feel like these are all connected. Like I said originally, to if it's a communist structure, it's on an anti-clockwise. It's on a reversal templating, basically. Also, when you look at all of those Atlantic slave trade routes, what they're doing, they're coming from different places in Africa, okay, different places in China, coming up into the islands here. These are olive islands that are, one of them was the Maxwell Island. Some of them are other islands. Everything that's charted in this light green color are islands that are owned and operated by celebrities, politicians. There is the Necker Islands, owned by Richard Branson. There's the New Holland Island, owned by Roman Abramovich. Scorpios Island, owned by Giorgio Armani. Musha Cay Island, owned by David Copperfield. James Island, owned by Craig McCaw. Rooster Cay Island, owned by Eddie Murphy. Mago Island, owned by Mel Gibson. Mosquito Island, owned by Richard Branson. The World Island, owned by Michael Shoemaker. Little Halls Pond Cay Island owned by Johnny Depp. The list just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. Okay, all of these islands that are privately owned, they are sources for places that these Magical Kingdom cruise ships have gone and taken prepubescent beings, subjects. Okay, and a lot of this is following the same routes. Okay, because this is an international thing. It's following the same routes internationally that we're following the same as the Atlantic slave trades. Okay, coming from these parts of Africa, Madagascar, South America, Mexico, to the islands. This is where a lot of this is going down. From China, okay, to the Mosquito Island, all of these islands. And another reason why we shouldn't trust it. So I'm gonna screen share another. I'm just gonna show you something that I have put up on my. So this is something else that I'm not gonna like really talk about, but I'm just gonna kind of scroll down. This was something that I found on Twitter, I believe it was. But this is a list of all of the arrests for the nursery rhyme crimes. Okay, things that have happened inside the Magical Kingdom, things that have happened through employees, teachers, presidents. I said employees. Okay, lots of investigations here. Okay, with sites, with links to all of this. So if you want this list, you can email me and I will send you this list. But I got it from this link here at Terre Liberate Lux Visit End Human Suffering, basically. And you can also find this list here, which it has all of the links and supporting research and backup to support all of these claims. Basically, very extensive list here from 2017 all the way to 2002 current. So these arrest lists, you know, this is the same energy that is supporting these education system, right? This elementary education system funded by the Magical Kingdom. I mean, I don't think these two things should be going together the way that they are. It just doesn't make any sense. So I had to do this update. I had to get this information out to you guys. I just wanted to, you know, do a deeper decode, a deeper deep dive. This is, and the more it keeps opening up, the more extensive it keeps getting. There's so much more that I actually have found out that I can't even share. So I'm just going to have to be very careful about, you know, what I do and don't share with you guys. But just know that this grid is a grid that can be worked on and dismantled by grid and gatekeepers, by focusing on raising consciousness in the landmass, focusing on sending and clearing the 33rd parallel. This is at the north latitude of 66.6 degrees. I am living on this latitude, okay? I live right here. I literally live on the 33rd parallel. I couldn't realize, like, I couldn't figure out why I was living here on the 33rd parallel for the longest time, but now I realize why I'm living here. Is because I'm supposed to work on this ley line. I'm supposed to clear this energy here. I'm supposed to clear the PDSs. I'm supposed to clear what's going on. And all radical shifts and transformation will come from this parallel. That's where it will come from. Because this is where all the major Stargate vortexes on the Earth are running, is on the 33rd parallel. It is powered to do so here. To overcome the corruption, everything will come from this parallel. To restore the global crucifixion wounds, everything will come from this parallel. So yeah, guys, I love you so much. Again, share this message out to parents so they have this information. Please see the last decode that I did do on this Disney grid decode, because I did go in much more detail on the grid technically in this one than I did in this one. that I did in this video update today, just because I was talking more about a different dynamic of it. But if you want the full story, the full picture, watch the Disney Grid Decode that I just did. And yeah, guys, so I love you all so much. Stay strong, stay protected, keep your astral shields high, clear your field, make sure you are taking care of your body, replenishing your minerals, drinking lots of water, for the battle that's up ahead, because we need everybody to stay strong as this corruption is extracted from the grid templates, and we all need to be working together, unified in spirit and in energy and the highest consciousness to be doing this work. So yeah, guys, I love you all so much. Take care. Namaste. Have a beautiful everything.